Hey, everybody. So I have a longtime customer here, Brandon from Truce Media, that I want to welcome to the stage because Brandon really knows LucidLink, and we're just going to talk about the great things he's done with LucidLink, how he's improved his business. So I'm going to start off with a couple questions. Like, first of all, Brandon, please describe what Truce Media is and what you do.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here, and I know everyone is hoping, having a great day at NAB. It's great that we're back in person, right? Thanks for joining us and learning a little bit about what we did with LucidLink. So, as they said, I'm the president of Truce Media, and we're based out of Denver, Colorado. So we are a member-owned movie studio. So we are a film and TV agency, is the way we like to say it. And, our vision is to build a, member-owned movie studio. So we want to have, equity and ownership for creatives across the globe.
We're just keeping you on your feet with that noise, guys. Sorry. So I want to ask Brandon, really, you've been with us for at least a couple years. You've been in the elementary stages of LucidLink and rocking it. So can you tell me, and I kept this question, I didn't ask him in advance because I want to hear the answer. How'd you learn about LucidLink?
Definitely. So I think really through what a lot of people, do is search and rack their brains. Essentially, 2 years ago, we were working on virtual graduations. So like everybody else, we had built the studio. We're in Colorado. We launched, and then the pandemic hit. And, we were really just kind of stuck in a position of what do we do? And thankfully, we had a client come across that needed a virtual graduation. And within 3 days, we launched that entire business model and just kind of went for it. We was like, we're going to stick to one thing and let's do virtual graduation. So that was our business model. And we went, head first into that. And what happened was, as you can imagine, we got one school, then we had two, then we had four, then we had 8, then we had 16, and then we had 30, and then we had 100. And all of that started multiplying, and schools were delivering files to us via Google Drive, via emails, and, anything you can imagine. And so then we also had all of our editors getting files, and we started just manning up. We needed people editing, and thankfully I used to work for Stars, the movie channel, for 13 years, so I had a huge cache of people I knew that could edit, and they're all working at home. So we just started getting them files through Google Drive and Dropbox and WeTransfer and any way that you could imagine. They started downloading them and editing them, and they started working on things, and then again, all those problems started multiplying where we needed to fix something. They had all the files. We had some. I was creating duplicates. I was making all the files on my system, and they had it on their system. And then I had, the latest project file on my system, and they had it on their system. And so I was losing my mind. So the way I found LucidLink was literally just searching, and on the most, deepest, darkest link at some point, it was like Reddit probably, that I just saw somebody a one-line sentence of you should maybe look at LucidLink. And I was like, what is this LucidLink? And, I was looking at other opportunities, in the cloud, getting a editing system in the cloud going. I know there's Teradici and different products like that. Again, for us, we were just a startup and didn't have the funds to launch that. And, there was such a huge process to go through of getting the licenses and everything on the Teradici side. So it was just I was just scrambling. And I was so frustrated. I found the link at 2 a.m. because I was searching for so many things.
Well, I'm glad you found us.
Yeah,
right.
Me too.
So you've been using LucidLink for a couple years now. And I know I love this story, how you said, and I'm going to let him tell it better than I, but I'm going to tell you, Brandon was having their editors wait 5 hours a day for rendering and downloading. And I'm sure there's several of you that have experienced that same pain point. And he told me one time, he goes, Julie, I was using it 5 hours a day. Now with LucidLink, I can hire a lot more people to work for me because they're no longer waiting for downloading, syncing, and rendering. So can you expand on my story?
Definitely. So like we're kind of saying with like Google Drive, you can imagine if you put all your photos and videos on there and you try to get an editor to download it, either you do each individual file because then it'll start downloading, or if I select the folder, it was going to take forever to zip the file and then start downloading the file. So that's what they were doing. And so our editors were spending 1 to 3 hours downloading the files, putting them on their system. And then, everybody's internet was different at the time as well, as you can imagine. They still are. And so, they were rendering a file out. And so one person's using a laptop, or maybe the other person's using a tower, and it would take them 30 minutes to an hour to render. And then they would try to upload it, and their system was forever. And they're sitting there on the clock for 3 to 5 hours, just waiting for the stuff to like upload. And so again, we were just losing our minds because we were trying to get the stuff done, and it was very time sensitive. It had to be done, by May 25th or something like that. And it could not be any later. And we were just running up against that wall. And so that was the biggest concern, obviously. And so when I found that link at like 2 a.m, the craziest part about the whole story is that like I found the link at 2 a.m, went to the website, signed up, got a call from Scott, I think like the next day, but I got, I downloaded it, got it set up on my system, and I copied stuff on there, and I just went nuts. I was like, oh my God, like I can access everything I need. I can do this. And so that night I took every one of our projects, dumped them on there. And by the morning had all the folders set, sent an email to everybody with all their logins. And the next day they were up and running. So like within like 1 day we were rocking, and everybody was just cranking.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate because I think this is a good data point. You actually transformed your whole workflow with your entire company in 1 day with LucidLink.
Yeah. And it was nice because I did it that night, and then everybody woke up and was like, what is this? And then they just went with it, and that was the best part, was that, the team got their logins, they got everything, and just started editing and understood keep your project file on LucidLink. And we were all doing 1080, thankfully, and, photo files. So data wasn't huge. We weren't doing the 4K stuff or anything like that yet. So that was kind of the best part, was it was easy for me to move everything and then just keep them running. So while they were already doing it, they then just jumped over to using LucidLink. And then, what happened is we kept getting better at the system. So, at first we were like, yeah, just edit. And then we at least have a backup. Then it turned into, wait a second, I kept getting calls of, well, it's going to take me 3 hours to upload this. And I was like, well, wait a second. No, just save your session. I remoted in to our studio, which had gigabit, opened it up, rendered it out. And our systems were rendering the entire like hour and a half long sequences in about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. They were taking 30 minutes to an hour to render and upload. Our gigabit, I put it up on Frame, or I put it up on Vimeo, and it would be up in 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking half an hour to an hour and a half, and then you go to 5 minutes using LucidLink.
Yeah, because being able to have them just text me and say it's ready to render. That's all we told people to do from then on, was text me when you're ready to render, and they saved it, and then I just opened it up locally on our system. Everything synced, and that was the best part, because people were making their own files on their own drives and stuff, and then my stuff wasn't syncing with their stuff. So yeah, you can imagine the nightmare.
Well, I know that we take away not only the downloading pain point, but also the syncing pain point. So there's no longer, with LucidLink, the single source of truth is in the cloud, last rights win, and you don't have to wait for the syncing. But I want to ask you another question. How was this received by your team? Did they think like, Brandon, what are you smoking last night? And you just gave us a whole new system, or how was it received?
They definitely did that at first. And, they just didn't understand why at first. But then once they saw it, there was definitely at the very beginning, this was 2 years ago, a little bit of a difference in the install method today. It's a lot easier, obviously. And just, then we had Macs, and you had to go through kind of the security protocols and blah, blah, blah. So we had Macs and PCs going. So I kind of helped, I guess, fix some of those issues, I guess. But like we were just kind of going through it. We're just trying to pound through it and get these things done. So, the team at first was like, why, from their end at first, they're like, why? But then once they saw that they didn't have to wait 3 to 5 hours of uploading and all that stuff, and we took that off their plate, they were incredibly thankful. I mean, they were just like, they just focused on the edit and they're like, it's done. I fixed everything. This is great. They saved it and they just walked away. They were done. And so it took that load off of them, and it took a load off of me because I was having to fix things that they messed up most likely anyway.
So you've got we've already figured out that you're saving a lot of time from your editors. And do they feel like, from a creative perspective and from a creative person's perspective, what are some of the benefits that they've seen immediately, and have those been reflected in your work product?
Yeah. Getting the producers obviously on the same page. They're working very diligently, like in Google Drive at first, of organizing all these things. Well, on Lucid, we just created a template folder and just started duplicating those. And then the producer would take all the assets and put them in the folders. And so then the editor was not going through a million places trying to find, 150 student photos or videos and put them into a timeline. So, it allowed the producer before would, download the files and then rename files, let's say, and then move files and whatever. Now they just put them in LucidLink and we're just doing the renaming there, like as a file. And that was the best part too, is like, in the cloud, trying to take file renaming and doing it in the cloud is just really difficult. Well, by downloading and putting on Lucid, I could we had a script that we had used, and it just allowed us to rename all the files. So like we organized the students, 1 to 180, let's say, and we just hit a button and boom, it would just rename them. And then the editor would see those all renamed. So, like they saw it happen on their end and the producer saw it happen instantaneously. And so nobody's just sitting around waiting. And that was the key, was that there was so much wasted time. And so they get to spend more time editing.
They probably like that, I'm assuming. So
Definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit about, because you've touched on this, but LucidLink works on any operating system. So we've had a discussion, and you guys use Windows and Mac. And what NLE tools do you use? And what about the applications that you run on LucidLink?
Sure. I mean, at the time, obviously, we were running Adobe. So we're using After Effects, we're using Premiere, Pro Tools. I mean, our audio editor, we got him immediately on that. And, he was kicking through, multiple, like from the beginning, every school was going through Pro Tools, and we were mixing them and then getting them out. So we're kind of doing, audio mixing. So Pro Tools, Avid, and then Resolve. Now, we're doing Resolve as well as Premiere. And yeah.
So I know that we've talked about some cost savings, but you've pivoted your business yet again. So I know when you did all the graduation, the virtual graduations, that was amazing. I if I was youthful and in high school, it would have been an awesome system to be using. But tell me a little bit now, that because LucidLink has been with you in your journey as you guys continually transform yourself. So can you tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing now?
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we did 2 years solid of virtual graduations, and then, kind of like everybody else, are doing hybrid events and conferences. We're doing just a lot of online streaming, obviously. And then we started pivoting more towards the hybrid events and then live stream events on site. And then what we kind of launched as a member-owned organization is what we call the affiliate membership in our sense. It's a retainer with benefits type package where they can become a member of Truce. They're, invested in what we do. We're invested in what they do. We do brand storytelling. So that's what we want to do, is build brands. And we've proven we can build brands because we did it during the pandemic. And so we have a track record. But it was like, well, when you're dealing with clients, a lot of times it's always, they're wanting, a Google link, a Google Drive, or whatever, like WeTransfer or something. Again, it's so great to just give an organization, in our case, access to the one folder, their folder, and I give the access to their team, and they come on as an affiliate member. Their team has access to that, and they can just put all their files in there, and then our team sees it. We can get going.
So in this instance, you are actually offering LucidLink as a service, right? And enabling others to just get immediate access to their data.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's just kind of part of the package, instead of trying to upsell them, in a sense, we just include it as part of our data and everything for them. And then, we're able to work more efficiently on our end in getting their stuff done, and they see the turnaround time, and it's just a folder for them that they just drag and drop. And then we've, like I said, we've done those as well as documentaries now, and kind of switching more towards original content. We've been doing a lot more storytelling on that end. So I guess unscripted storytelling through documentary. So we've been doing strings locally in our system on timelines and uploading those to Lucid. And again, our team is working on those. And then we can take those and finish in-house, same method.
Well, it sounds awesome that I'm always wishing you the best of luck, because you guys keep growing and doing amazing things. So I kind of, before we get into any questions, I want to, like, what strikes you about LucidLink as the biggest benefit to your business? Because I know, you're a small business owner, you keep track of your expenses. Obviously, you've got cost savings here, but what's the biggest thing that stands out in your mind in regards to LucidLink and how the technology has helped you?
I think the ease to deploy it, obviously. The snapshots now, I don't know if anyone here is using the snapshots. It's just kind of built in, which is great. Like I was saying before, we started so early, you had to write script and know what script and tell it exactly how many days or hours or weeks that you wanted to back up and put that into place. But now it's just a button, so the software, you just open it up. It's easy to add users, to send them their info, resetting their passwords. And then the snapshots are just key because, I've gotten many texts or calls from a producer who's like, I accidentally deleted something. I have no idea what I did. It's all gone. And they were freaking out. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. That peace of mind is really nice because you've got 2 weeks, was it daily, hourly, every half hour. There's just, it's so easy with the backups. And so I just pulled it up, dragged the folder there, and I'm done. And it was no time lost, instead of having to recopy an entire folder of content. It's just super fast. So that I think is great. The billing structure is, I think, easy to understand. You go online, you can go to your account, check it, and you get a PDF, and it tells you the breakout of how much data in and out. And it's just it's gotten so much simpler, so you can kind of base what you're doing and know what your costs are, and then bring your people on and get to work.
Well, you've had experienced growing pains with us, so we really appreciate that. And like I said, you've grown your business. I wanted to throw it out to the audience because Brandon's been with us for 2 years. He's seen it all. He's doing really well, and I want to see if anybody had any questions from the audience.
Rendering. Talk about the amount of time it used to take to do the editing and the rendering, and then how you were able to cut that down with LucidLink.
Yeah. I think we were kind of down to, like I said before, editing. We would spend 1 to 2 days, let's say, editing, and then getting a review link. But the problem is that we found very quickly with the graduations is 180 students or something. The one was out of place, or two, or whatever. Out of 180, you're going to have mistakes, and it just compiled and got crazier and crazier. So, it was a lot of that of you need the flexibility of being able to just quickly open up a session, make a change, render it out, call it done. And so that was the key of just having a shared, workspace. And the best part was when we were doing the graduations, we were looking at all these different options and trying to figure out what to do. And it was I don't know what this is going to cost. I don't know what that's going to cost. I just started, doing LucidLink. And when I put it on the system, when we started going, it was oh, this is only costing $50 a month. And then it was oh, it's $100 or whatever, it's it wasn't $2,000 a month, you know what I mean? And then we would get done with the schools, archive them, delete it. And then it was oh, cool. It's still $150 a month, or, you can determine your cost by, archiving your stuff and deleting stuff and bringing it on. But that was kind of the best part was I couldn't believe that it was, but I think at the time we were doing the Amazon AWS storage at the time. So even I think it was $80 there. I think back then it was just right out of the gate, it was a terabyte kind of a deal. It was still super cost effective because we weren't even really hitting a terabyte with all the 1080 footage. So that was the key. It was utilizing everyone's resources at home. They all had their own computers, their own system. We just needed a way for everybody to use the same files across the board.
Well, you have access to that. I want to see, do we have any other questions? You have a question over there.
Thank you. I apologize. I joined late, so this may have been covered earlier, but I joined when you were saying that you switched over at the pandemic, right? When people went home. So were you guys traditionally in the office before that? Yes?
We were.
Yeah. So has switching to Lucid, like, are you guys going back to the office? Is this affecting your plans for that, allowing people to stay remote versus coming to the office? Does this affect that decision for you?
It actually does. I mean, we have 6 systems at our studio, and I can remote into any of one of them from my phone. And it's one of those things where we just use the same system. So the same people, same infrastructure of everybody that we need something done. I just say, hey, Rob, this needs to be done. He does it. And it gets done. Then I pull it up on my computer, and I can do it from my laptop or phone from even here at the hotel, render it out or whatever, take the files and then put them where I need to. So it's like we still leverage people working from home, and then having our 6 rigs of being able to render out multiple things at the same time. And that's what we were doing. I mean, we had all 6 rigs in a circle back then, and we were just like, we were remoting in, and me and Ben were just going and kicking off renders constantly in a loop, and we're just working nonstop. Yeah.
Hopefully you have a little more free time now.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Well, again, I really want to thank Truce Media, a longtime customer of LucidLink, for coming to the stage, and thanking Brandon. And we hope to see you guys all tomorrow, though we still have plenty of demos to show you.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm going to turn it over to Leda.